And welcome back once again, everybody, to the Maine State Chamber of Commerce and the Bottom Line. We are coming to you from the studios of the Williams Broadcasting Group. Creative programming for radio, television, and diversified full-length podcasts for the web. That's at williamsbroadcasting.net. Want to remind you that the Bottom Line comes your way twice every month, and you can listen to us live from our studio by going to williamsbroadcasting.net, then clicking the microphone at the upper right-hand corner of the page that says Listen Live, and we will be there with you. Also want to remind you that you can pick us up online on demand. That's right. Anytime you'd like to, on any app you normally listen to your favorite podcast on, you can listen to the Bottom Line on that podcast line as well. I want to remind you that we are sponsored by Grant's Kennebago Camps on pristine Kennebago Lake and River. And I'm John Williams, joined by my co-host, Patrick Woodcock, who is the president and CEO of the Maine State Chamber of Commerce. And we are so pleased today to welcome Maine State Senator Dick Bradstreet. Welcome, Senator Bradstreet. It's a pleasure to have you join us on the Bottom Line.
Well, thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Absolutely. It's great. And Patrick, I'm going to turn things right over to you.
Well, we're in the heart of the legislative season. Sox open tomorrow in Cincinnati. That marks usually the heart of a legislative session. And so pleased to have Senator Bradstreet, who we recognize as one of 4 legislators a couple weeks ago as champions of the Maine business community. And Senator, we always like to start with your pathway to your public service. What really led you to run for the legislature, and what's your professional background?
Okay, well, yes. Well, I was born in Albion. I went to college, and right after college, I went to work for my wife's grandfather, who's a retailer for manufacturing of modular homes. And I was there for 12 years. Then my wife and I started our own business in Winslow, retail business, which we ran for about 28 years. We sold manufactured and modular homes as a retailer. During that time, I also served on the Manufactured Housing Board, which is a regulatory board in the state that oversees the industry, sales, manufacturers, communities, that sort of thing. After 28 years, we went through the Great Recession, and my wife and I decided that it's time in our lives to maybe think about retirement. So I did that. We had a successful business for 28 years, and upon retirement, I also served part-time as executive director of the Manufactured Housing Association of Maine, which is a member organization which advocates for the industry. During all that time, we never had much to do in Augusta because our industry was not in the spotlight. As far as running for office, I used to meet with Senator Scott Searway, still do it on occasion, and we talking about things that's going on in the state. And I guess I had some ideas maybe that should be promoted. Did some complaining, like a lot of people do. And he said, "Why don't you run?" And I said, "Well, I'm not sure if I want to do that." Anyway, he put me on a contact with some people, and they offered the chance. So I ran. I ran against a 2-term incumbent for the House. I live in Vassalboro, so it was a small district, as all the House districts are. I just went out and did my job, and I actually won that time. I served in the House for 4 terms. Now I'm serving my first, and will be my last year in the Senate too, because I'm not running for re-election. I served originally on the Judiciary Committee, which was an eye-opener. The last 4 terms, 3 in the House and once in the Senate, served on the the Labor Committee. For a short time, I served on we had to address the housing crisis, we had a select committee on housing in the 131st legislature. So I served on that committee as well. Was for a short time on the Housing and Economic Development Committee that we currently have in the 132nd legislature. But due to some people not being represented on there, I guess I was removed from it. Nothing that I did, just to make room for somebody who needed his representatives to have a say. So that's where I am right now. I'm serving on the Labor Committee.
Senator Bradstreet,
Um,
I'm sorry I interrupted you. I didn't mean to do that.
no, that's okay.
I wanted to ask you, in the time that you have been serving in the legislature, in the House and both in the Senate, what are the positive things that you've taken from that, and perhaps even what are some of the negative or challenging things that you have experienced in your legislative service thus far?
Well, we've been in the minority all my 10 years there, so uh, I haven't been able to push forward some of the policies that I'd like to see, which I think would be good for the state. I've been working on trying to keep the state as competitive as possible in all areas of our economy, and that includes housing. I know because of the focus on the housing lately, the legislature has attempted to do a number of things. They've promoted our industry for one thing, and it's kind of found out, hey, there's a lot of that can be done in the area of industrialized housing. It makes sense to do that. So there's been some movement towards improving the overall housing climate. But on the other hand, the legislature does a good thing one day, and the other next day it seems to do something which is a detriment. I'm talking about some of the rent control efforts and that sort of thing that I think actually serves to discourage the creation of more housing, because what we have in Maine is a lack of supply, and we need to concentrate on creating that supply of housing and all types of housing, not just affordable housing, but workforce housing, any type of housing. It all goes into the marketplace, and it helps everybody.
Yes.
Just one final thing I wanted to mention, Patrick, then I'll turn it back to you. I wanted to, as you probably know, from the Oxford Hills area. I'm the executive director of the Chamber of Commerce here, and we're kind of a hub of industrial housing out there with our manufactured housing group. And you're probably very familiar with it. We have four different manufactured housing retail outlets and builders there. And certainly I can identify with what you've done from the perspective of private business, and also how frustrating it can be at times to realize that we've got the tools. We have some of the tools, maybe not the supplies, but the tools to make things move forward to create better housing. But it seems like there's all kinds of stopgaps that occur along that road.
Right. As a matter of fact, I'm very familiar with the retailers down there. I still stop in and visit them on occasion because I'm still doing some affiliated work with the Manufactured Housing Association. Talk to them. At one time, we also had four manufacturing plants in that area.
That's
We're
right.
down to one now, and
That's
they
right.
deal just with modular homes as opposed to dealing with modular and manufactured. There's a difference there.
Yep.
But Maine, we have to realize that we are. I used to be good friends with the the president of Oxford Homes years ago, and he would tell me some of the issues that he ran into. We're at the end of the supply chain, so it's very difficult to manufacture, create a finished product up here because of the cost of components coming in. So that makes it even more important that the things that we can control, that we do control them as much as possible, including the cost of energy, for one thing. Workforce, workforce developing skilled people to work in the manufacturing plants. So over the years, we've lost three of those plants. We still have one remaining. Retailers up there tell me that they've been very busy in the last few years because there is a big demand for the product.
Yep.
At one point in time, they were over a year out in the waiting list for people to get homes from them. There was such a big demand. There still is a big demand. They're still very busy. But what they also see is sometimes the government tries to do things and actually creates problems. One of them I talked to just last week, and they also do stick building, site building. And they said some of the new codes requirements that are coming out are very expensive with marginal benefit on the other side. And I think one thing we need to do as a state when we do things like this, upgrade our codes and looking at current codes, we do a cost benefit analysis of what the codes are really going to do. And you need to talk to people who work on the street and deal with it every day rather than people maybe sit in office and theorize about what things are going to happen. Things are dynamic; they're not static. When you change one thing in a code, it can be pretty significant to the people who actually have to build the homes. Another thing is that a lot of builders and code enforcement people don't even know what the codes are now because they change so much, and they're very complicated. I have two sons who are in code enforcement, and one of them showed me just the plumbing book, and it's about 1.5 inches thick, just the plumbing code. And I think we need to simplify things, make it more predictable. Also, that if we can have some stability in the codes rather than changing them as often as we do, that would be a help. I know I've gone on about some different things here, but those are some of the things that I hear from the people who are still in the business.
Well, one of the reasons you were identified is your work on trying to promote innovative housing solutions. And, there is a bit of a renaissance across the country looking at modular and manufactured housing. I know Congress is looking at legislation that actually is bringing the two parties together. And you were one of the architects of a recent report submitted to the legislature on really uh, lowering the barriers for innovative housing construction. And I think it really is on the cusp of unlocking a lot of housing solutions. So we really appreciate your leadership. What can we do to lower the cost of construction, make the regulatory process smoother for installing, inspecting these housing solutions when we really have a huge lack of supply right now. So, I wanted, before we move on to some additional topics, you did uh, uh, have a opportunity to travel to Pennsylvania and Maryland, and I wonder what your takeaways with how other states are looking at promoting these housing solutions.
Okay, yes, I did was able to go on that trip, and we had a very good group of people in that trip that we took. We looked at some manufacturing plants, we looked at some component plants too, which are very important in the supply chain for creating housing. We learned some of the things that they do. I think I mentioned once before in a previous conversation that we had one manufacturing plant who will not build a home over 11 feet and 11 inches wide because beyond that he has to pay extra for escort vehicles. So he manufactures all of his components, all of his homes or modules, I should say, at that maximum width. We also saw another place where they pre-built the kitchens and the bathrooms at another location that would be made to fit right into any of their plans that they have. So when they build the homes, they have a ready-made bathroom and kitchen to just lay in there. Unfortunately, those things are made in the Houston, Texas area, so the transportation costs are pretty significant. If we could do that somewhere in the East Coast or in the Northeast even, it would be a lot better for affordability. And we also visit one of the plants that we actually did visit. I used to do business with them, and they're a leading plant, part of the Berkshire Hathaway conglomerate. So they're well financed, and they're really at the cutting edge of a lot that's going on. They make sort of a cross mod, which we haven't seen much of up in here. What that is taking a manufactured home, which currently comes on a chassis, and it's what people look at and call mobile homes. But they're adding certain elements to them. It's a steeper roof pitch, all drywall, attached garages, and so they're pretty much indistinguishable from site-built homes. It's significant savings. We haven't seen much of that up here yet. There are people who have done something similar to that in the southern Maine area, in a community down there, and they're very attractive. They have a waiting list for people to get in. It's designed as a 55 and over community. The people love it there. They take all kinds of take care of the people. When I've been in to visit, the people come in and they know them by name. It's a family-run business, which has been the backbone of our retailer component of the industry in the state of Maine for a long time. Very worthwhile. We also had, as a member of that group, we had a man who had vast experience around the world. He worked for an organization of Japan, and he had some great ideas of what they're doing in different countries. I think we need to look at that too. There's a lot of, it's probably when we did this, we thought we learned a lot, but we found out too there's a lot more we need to learn and see how we can apply that in the state of Maine.
It was a fantastic report. I think one of the best that's been presented. It is going to be held over to the next legislature, a lot of some of the changes, but it would basic kind of pragmatic recommendations. Can you get a a building certified at the manufactured level rather than get it approved at the local level and have an electrical inspection and all those costs? What are the ways to really speed from factory to occupancy? And I thought it was just a really refreshing outlook for a solution for a lot of
Hmm.
homeowners who uh, who are really feeling that they have no options right now in the state of Maine. John, I think we should probably take our break. I do
Yeah,
want to broaden the conversation on the economy, but should we take our break now?
that'd be great. Perfect, Patrick. We'll take a little bit of a break. We'll be right back. Once again, John Williams, Patrick Woodcock, and Senator Dick Bradstreet joining us on the bottom line today. You hold on, everybody. We'll be right back. I've been traveling north from Norway to Grant's Kennebago camps on the crystal clear waters of Kennebago Lake near Rangeley for over 50 years, and it won't be long before I'm headed back. Fly fishing for native brook trout, brown trout, and salmon in one of the most pristine settings anywhere in North America. What always stands out to me is the stunning beauty of this area filled with wildlife like moose grazing in the Norton Brook area, easily seen from Grant's dining room on the main lodge on the shores of the lake, along with the haunting and beautiful calls of the loon as they cruise by the camps day and night. It is truly a sportsman's paradise. And if fly fishing isn't for you, then paddle a canoe or kayak, take a refreshing swim, or walk the miles of hiking trails, or even ride your mountain bike on the camp road next to the lake and river. In the meantime, you'll enjoy 3 home-cooked meals a day and stay in cabins that are sitting on the water's edge with screened-in porches where you can relax and enjoy the breathtaking natural beauty of the lake and the mountains around it. Owners John and Carolyn Blunt, they're always there to greet you, and the fishing either on the lake or in the river is simply legendary. Take it from me. A family trip to Grants will change your whole perspective of what an adventure vacation can mean. Go to grantscamps.com for all the information and reservations, and it's very likely that you'll see me there. And welcome back once again, everybody, to the bottom line. John Williams, Patrick Woodcock, and our special guest today, Senator Dick Bradstreet, joining us on the show. And Patrick, I know you had some things you wanted to dive into, so I'll let you begin the second half of the bottom line. Yeah, go right ahead.
Yeah, we always want to highlight the economy and just you mentioned that you've been stymied on some of your vision for what the state needs to do to stay competitive, but you represent Kennebec County. I'd start the conversation on the economy, maybe on just how you perceive how Kennebec County is succeeding, or what its challenges are right now for economic growth. What's your assessment, Senator?
Well, there have been some good things happening in Kennebec County. Even Augusta is provide quite a number of various housing proposals going on in Augusta. Waterville, which I'm a bit more familiar with, Colby College has done an enormous expansion there. That's helped the entire area. So there are ways of doing it. And I think that we need to look at, we need to encourage the private sector to be able to create businesses, expand businesses. The one of the issues they have, of course, is workforce. And I know that there's been an increased emphasis on training people in the trades and that sort of thing. The another thing that the state is trying to do, which will help everybody, is the simplifying the ability of to create retailers. Currently, the manufactured and modular home retailers have to serve 2 years under another dealership before they can get their license, and that doesn't seem realistic at all. That's going to be upgraded, I think, and have the manufacturers give them more oversight of their product as it gets erected in the state of Maine, because it is a process that we have to go through. One of the issues, I was at a budget committee meeting locally last night, and the towns and cities are really feeling the pressure of additional taxes. That the answer to that is expansion of our economy and more jobs and more businesses who provide good jobs. I think the economy is such right now that people can earn good livings if they get the training necessary to provide services that we need. In Augusta, the University of Maine at Augusta recently developed a nursing program. I know that it's not really directly related to housing, but it is important. And occasionally we meet with the healthcare providers. We met with Maine General a couple of months ago, and I asked them how that program is going. They said it's been fantastic. We've got developing, the ability for nurses to get their certification, and they're really filling a need there. And I think we can do the same thing likewise with housing. We can train people. Even the code enforcement officers are going to be able to get more training, realizing that the difference between industrialized housing and stick-built housing or site-built housing. We found out that, again, I've got sons in code enforcement, and they realize that the codes are very hard to understand for code enforcement officers, and if it's hard for them to understand too, it's difficult for people who are building the houses. And right now, you can build a home in two different, for instance, Waterville and Winslow, and they come under a couple of different codes because we don't have a uniform code really throughout the state when it comes to the total building package. So that's something that is being worked on as well. I keep reverting back to what we're trying to do to help the housing situation there. So, but housing, housing is one of the big reasons, a lack of housing is one of the big reasons businesses are having trouble because finding workforce, because the workforce needs to find an affordable place to live. We visited Jackson Labs as part of our tours that we take to find out what's going on in the entire state, and they're carpooling people from 50 or 100 miles away. They have been doing that. They can't find housing locally for their own people, workers, so they've been engaged in helping out in that regard. But I'm a person who tries to look at the raw costs of things. We try to bring the costs down. I know there's part of what the state is trying to do is to subsidize more types of housing, which is good to a point, but when you subsidize something, it tends to drive the cost up. It also tends to camouflage or conceal the underlying upward pressure on pricing. So I think that's what we need to do, simplifying the dealership creation process for housing, giving more training for code enforcement officers. It's a whole, and municipal officials as well. There's been some pushback over the years at our product because they still think of it what it was 20 or 30 years ago, but it's not that same way anymore. What we're doing now in our industry is very attractive, and we have people. Back when we were in business, they would come and say, "Man, I didn't know they could look like this." I said, "Yeah, we've been doing this for years. I'm glad you're finding out." So there's opportunity there for sure. We just need to kind of drive that ahead and identify the things that are impediments, like I think restrictive codes, maybe some of the local ordinances we need to take a look at. We're kind of walking a fine line now. I feel I'm walking a bit of a fine line as a state senator because of the housing situation and the concentration on it in our state. Realize local control, realize private property rights, and also realize that the state is pushing for more housing. And sometimes that conflicts with what the locals want to do. I think we need to find out a way to show people that it's good for their towns, their communities, if we find a way to afford housing for the people who want to live and work there.
Senator Bradstreet, keeping that in mind with what you just said, and then broadening the talk back a little bit, as you look forward, and you take a look at your own, time in private business and now serving in the legislature, what, in your opinion, if I may ask, is going to create overall the kind of business-friendly environment here in the state of Maine that you envision? Do you have thoughts about that from the perspective of all of the different topics that obviously you are involved in at the legislative level? But I think you understand what I'm saying. We've been talking a lot about housing and how that's going to attract workforce and that type of thing. But in your mind, what is going to really create that kind of environment that is going to change maybe some of the attitude about making things, if you will, easier for businesses to be here in the state of Maine and to work here as well?
Well, thank you for that. As I told you before, I've served on the Labor Committee for quite a while now,
Yep.
and I've seen quite a few bills come through, and some get enacted that I think are detrimental to our state. They have to do with some of the imposition of certain programs onto the business community, which are better suited if they were incentivized rather than mandated. I think the state has a tendency to mandate things like any government entity seems to do. We haven't had a chance to really push forward a complete agenda, which would help our state. What I would like to see is people becoming more aware of the value of businesses in the state of Maine. They create better lives for everybody. There doesn't seem to be that mindset right there in much of the government. I think that these business owners, most of them are neighbors and friends. They want what's best for everybody too. So we need to listen to those people. We need to, energy costs are a big thing too. Some of our policies have driven up the cost of energy. Energy is expensive everywhere you go in the country now, but Maine energy costs seem to have increased a lot more than the other states, and it's because of policies that we've had. We need, I think, if we can walk back some of those as much as we can, and then maybe have something that's more realistic, because when you're a business, an entrepreneur looking to start a business, you look at a number of factors. Is it the workforce available? Are they trained? What are the costs of energy? What are my tax exposure? How will I run amidst of any government regulations I'm not even aware of? The small businesses are I think they are the backbone of our economy. Some of the requirements we put on them are the same as what you'd have on a big business, and they don't have the means to basically deal with these mandates that are placed upon them. So we need to take a good look at that and reel some of those back, I think, or at least make them stable. Another thing that businesses need to do is they like stability. I need to know what's going to happen. I can't have the state coming in a year after I start my business and impose more restrictions on me and costs. I did get one of the lobbyists for the labor industry. I did get him to say at one time that the more you pay in taxes, the less you can give your help. And he said, yeah, any costs like that, if it's more available for the business owners, it's better off for the employees as well, because there's more money for them. And any long-lasting business in Maine values their work as they're part of their success. And I think everybody can be successful if we just realize. I think it's just more of a mindset than anything else. We have to look at everything critically when it comes before us in the legislature and say, is this going to hurt us or help us in the long run. And I think the voices of business community needs to be heard more. We have sometimes we're at loggerheads in what we do in Augusta, and it's unfortunate that we can't always get what we want to promote a stronger economy. It's a big competitive world out there, and we need to realize that. And we do. Many of us do understand the factors that business people look at when they're looking to either create or expand a business. Even in my own, there's a high-end window company in my hometown. They do business all over the world, and they're looking at the local costs now, and you can see the wheels turning in the owner's head. Do I expand here? Am I going to be able to stay here because of some of the things that go on here? So I think we need leadership who understands that we don't. I had a former senator, my former senator Matt Pouliot, and I talked about this a while back, and we said, how do we promote things? And he said, well, our basic idea is to kind of just don't get in the way. Let successful people be successful. We need to take a look at, when it comes back to housing, we need to take a look at some of the long-standing rules and regulations we've had. I know subdivisions, for instance, there's a movement to maybe make that a little bit easier to create a subdivision without going through too much local review. Not that that's bad, but that can tend to take a long time. And by the time that it goes through the process, costs have changed, people's attitudes might have changed. They might have seen something else somewhere else that they prefer to do. So getting our heads together and going in the same direction of all of us would help a lot. So do I have a magic formula? No, nobody has a magic formula. But what we need to do is realize that there are people out there who want to succeed. They want to create a business. They want to expand their businesses. And we need to encourage that rather than discourage it. And when I look at legislation that comes before me, I always keep that at the forefront of my thought process. Is this going to be good, or is it not going to be good? And if it's good, then we need to go for it. If it's not good, then we need to push back on it.
It's
And that's
really
what
the
we're trying to
lens
do.
of it's really the lens of pragmatism, Senator. And I really do think the Maine people, if anything, they're pragmatic people.
Exactly.
And, we really, whoever is the next governor, who fills your seat, just a real prism that we look through public policy with some practicality. And you've mentioned it. It's housing, it's energy, it's workforce. We get a list, but at the same time, from Augusta to Waterville, there is so much potential for our state if we really allow these businesses to thrive. Senator, I want to thank you for your public service. You're a father-daughter duo in the legislature, and the
Right.
business community is so appreciative of your public service. And don't be a stranger for these housing debates in the future. We certainly could use your experience and your leadership to really unlock housing production.
Well, thank you. I try to stay engaged as much as I can, even when my tenure ends. Sometimes I think you can do more outside the legislature than you can in.
So,
But we'll see where that goes. I'm, available. I'll make myself available to anybody who wants to talk with me.
and Senator, you know
recommend-
something? I also want to invite you to join us for our 25th annual Oxford Hills Home Show, which is coming up the last weekend in April. And of course, all of our retailers will be welcoming hundreds, maybe even thousands of people who are going to be coming up looking for a home. And we'd love to have you stop by if you get a chance.
As a matter of fact, I have it on my calendar to try to make already. As I said, I've been in contact with the people down there. Great people
Terrific.
down there.
They are.
You've got wonderful people. It's really a good culture down there. I think that where they're doing their best every day to answer the need for housing in the state of Maine.
Thank you so much, and thank you once again. I also want to tell you that we really appreciate your service. Kind of hate to be losing you. We need more senators and legislators with a mindset, and I think you would agree with that, Patrick. No question about it. But Patrick, thank you so much as always. Senator Bradstreet, thank you as well. And once again, everybody, we want you to stay tuned for our next edition of The Bottom Line. That'll be coming up in just 2 weeks. I am John Williams for Patrick Woodcock and Senator Dick Bradstreet, reminding you that we're looking out for your best interests. So be safe, be healthy, and we will see you again very, very soon. Take care. Bye-bye.
Okay. So are we done?